Maybe that could be the takeaway that Brett Kavanaugh gets out of this hearing. Maybe it could make him a better justice. I don't know where Clarence Thomas voted on this 2002 Supreme Court ruling. He should have understood that we should have a presumption of innocence, that there should be probable cause before the government is allowed to search you. But time and again, we have seen the government say, that's all right, we'll let the TSA put their hands on you and search you for no reason at all, other than you want to travel and get on a plane. This is not America. This is not treating us with dignity. It is taking away our liberty. And of course, it is a Skinner-esque, B.F. Skinner, the psychiatrist or psychologist who wanted to treat us as mere animals. He wrote the book Beyond Freedom and Dignity. As I've said before, my wife had to take it as part of her getting her degree in education, getting her master's degree. I said, oh, good. It's about time somebody complained about this. She says, no, he's not complaining about it. He's advocating that we move beyond freedom and dignity. He's advocating that we don't treat humans as humans, created in the image of God, endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. No, we treat them like we would an animal. And that's what they're doing at the airports. That's what they're doing to your kids at the schools. Treating them like animals. It is a psychological, technocratic tyranny. As I pointed out last week, Zbigniew Brzezinski said, you're going to have a technocratic elite, and they are going to be very powerful. They're going to know everything about everybody. They're going to have it at their fingertips, and they will do what they wish to everybody. Ron Paul wrote an op-ed piece. He is praising a new tax plan. Maybe you haven't heard about this. It hasn't gotten much publicity. This is a GOP tax plan that would allow parents to escape these prison schools. Yeah, it is a pipeline to prison, folks. Whether your kid winds up going to prison or not, this is a pipeline to living in a society that is run like a prison, a panopticon, where they look at everything that you do in your life, where they treat you as suspects, where they can stop and frisk you at any time for any reason. And if they are afraid of you for any reason, they're within their rights to execute you on the spot. Yeah, this is a pipeline to prison. If we condition our children in these authoritarian schools to accept this kind of stuff, we all live in a prison. But anyway, you want to get out of it? There's a way to get out of it, because, it's not just about even having a choice, but it's also about economic empowerment. And what they would allow in this new tax bill, they would allow people to save money in a tax-free 529 education savings account. And that could be used for homeschooling, not just for sending your kids to some crazy college where they're going to propagandize them into this Bill Ayers, George Soros, Brave New World Order that they've got cooked up. No, you could actually use it to homeschool your kids. And this makes absolute sense. Why, if education, things like education and healthcare, if they are so important, and they are, the Democrats always say, oh, education first, healthcare first. I agree. Then let me have a choice. Let me spend my money on education of my children and on my healthcare and my family's healthcare before I send it to you and you dole it out to me like a child on allowance after it goes through the sticky fingers of the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. I agree. Those are very important things. And they ought to come before the interest and the desires of the politicians and the bureaucrats in Washington. Let us have that money first. Let us spend that money first. Let us deduct that in tax credits, put them in savings accounts, and use that to educate our children and to provide our own health care. So this week, the House of Representatives will vote on a package of bills making the temporary tax cuts contained in last year's tax reform bill permanent and making additional tax law changes. But as Ron Paul points out, it'll almost certainly be filibustered in the Senate if they try to bring it to the floor, because they don't want you in charge of your health care. They don't want you educating your children. Well, guess what? We're going to educate our kids whether or not you let us have our own money or not. We're going to do it. Welcome back. As I said at the top of the program, I tweeted this out this morning at Libertarian. I said, Democrats want to lecture us on the evil of men, but they pretend that they can't tell men from women. They also want to protect women from sexual harassment, but they demand that men be allowed into women's restrooms. Are they crazy? You bet they are. You bet they are. It is trans insanity. And it's not just that. We've got in Houston, perhaps the first robot sex brothel. I guess we could call it the worst little whorehouse in Texas. But some of the people who are opposed to it are saying this is rape training. I mean, some of these robots are made like young girls. What is this about? I mean, are we catering to the Bill Cosbys of the world? What are we trying to accomplish here? Why would we do this? I really don't understand, but this is a new level of insanity. But let's go back to the idea that we're going to protect women from sexual harassment, but we're going to push them into the bathrooms. Remember, that was going back to May of 2016 when Obama was threatening schools, saying we're going to cut your Title IX funding if you don't allow boys who say they think that they're a girl. All they have to do is say they think they're a girl. Let them go into the bathrooms, into the showers, into the locker rooms. We're going to cut your Title IX funding. And people were pretty upset about it at the time. Let me give you a couple of flashback articles going back to May of 2016. What Obama was doing in terms of threatening women, because that's really what this is about. All these people were supposed to, I believe them, stand with the survivors who have been assaulted. And this is an assault to do this to women. The Obama administration's directive back in 2016 that every public school provide transgender access or face the loss of federal funds drew swift and strong condemnation from conservatives. One public official blasted it as presidential blackmail. They cited Title IX. They told schools to give transgender students access to all activities and facilities consistent with their gender identity. Well, you do have a gender identity. And it's not in your mind. It's in your pants. This goes against the values of so many people, said one individual at the time, but they don't care. They don't care about your values. They don't care about your preferences. They don't care about you feeling assaulted or in these lurid claims, the allegations that are being made about Brett Kavanaugh, flashing people. They were demanding that same sort of thing. You had the Obama administration explicitly threatening, a reported LifeSite at the time, explicitly threatening to pull federal funding from an Illinois school district and using the same thing in Virginia, two different places at the same time. Now, Title IX goes back to 1972. It was designed to prevent discrimination on the basis of sex. Well, what does sex mean? What is the meaning of is? Are we going to have Bill Clinton come in and explain that to us? Yeah, they don't know. They pretend not to know, and they do know. Just like Bill Clinton knew what the meaning of sex was, these people know what the meaning of sexual identity and gender. They know what that meaning is. It is, as I said before, it is biological, it is objective, and it is binary. A federal court at the time in Pennsylvania acknowledged rejected, I should say, didn't acknowledge, but they rejected a similar lawsuit that was filed by a transgender student trying to get into women's bathrooms at a college. And they said in the ruling, separating students by sex based on biological considerations for restroom and locker room use simply does not violate the Equal Protection Clause. It doesn't. It isn't your right to expose yourself to women. And yet now we have these people saying, but, keep him off the Supreme Court because I allege that he did this, and there's nobody to back that up. But think about this, because this story says it all. Fox News today reported a children's hospital in Colorado. It's called Children's Hospital Colorado. What city is this in? I'm not sure. I don't see it on the story here. Nevertheless, Children's Hospital Colorado has removed gender markers from the patient's wristbands to protect them and to protect their unique gender identity. The hospital staff said its staff understands that it's, quote, not easy growing up with an expansive gender identity or expression. Okay, so I have to ask this question. You don't want these newborn babies to feel bad about the fact that they don't know what their gender is yet, right? Do they even, these newborn babies, do they even know what this wristband is about? Of course they don't. They don't know what the wristband is about, and they don't know what gender they are. And they're not at an age where they can make that determination. So what is the age where they can make that determination? Is it kindergarten, as the Democrats would like to tell you? I don't think so. I don't think they can there either. They're still babies. And they're still not thinking about these sexual issues. But these people are pretending that they can make these decisions because they want to pretend that these kids can consent to having sex with them. That's what this is really about. So you're going to send your kid to a hospital where probably just a month or two earlier, if they would take an ultrasound, they'd say, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe, you are going to have a baby boy or a baby girl. And then the baby is born and they say, we don't know what it is. Well, I would say, get away from that hospital as fast as you can. There are physiological differences between male and female, and they're going to respond differently today. We've had this case with doctors saying, you know what, especially after the hormones kick in, there are going to be physiological differences. There's going to be differences in response to medications. By the way, there's differences in response to 5G radiation between men and women as well. There are real physiological differences here beyond the genitalia. And you're not doing your job as a hospital if you try to pretend otherwise. You're just promoting a mental insanity here. For what purpose? You know, what are they trying to protect these newborn babies from? To pretend that we don't know what gender they are. And in California, they have just passed a law allowing 12-year-olds to get tax-paid transgender treatments. And as this article from the Federalist points out, you have to be 16 to get a driver's license in California. As a matter of fact, as we talked with Eric Peters yesterday, you only have to be 14 to get one in France. I was surprised to see people say, 14-year-olds driving on the road? So we explained to them that the accident rates in France are half of what they are here, likely because people are driving at an earlier age in trainer cars. Nevertheless, you have to be 16 to get a driver's license in California, 18 to buy a rifle, to engage in consensual sex, or to get married without parental consent, 21 to buy a handgun, alcohol, or marijuana. But you only need to be 12 to decide that you're going to change your sex. And you can get the government to pay for it if you are a foster child. And again, this gets back to CPS, taking children, putting them in foster care, not giving due process to so many parents. And then once you're in foster care, how many times have we heard from foster parents and from children who were in foster care how drugs were pushed on them? Pushed very hard. I've known foster parents in North Carolina who said that they were pushed so hard to medicate these kids. And they said, we knew they were going to take them away and somebody else would medicate them. So we just